Hey guys, Brian from Richard Paintball and the LA and Orange County Paintball meetup groups. And today we're going to do a quick review here of hoppers. This is our Salute to Hoppers show. So as you can see, we've got tons of different electronic hoppers here. And I've been meaning to do something about hoppers for a while because I know I had a lot of questions about these. And I wanted to see them, and not always easy to see all of these all in one place. Not always possible to kind of try them all out. So these are ones that I've tried quite a bit. I've played with pretty much every single one of these. And I wanted to show them to you, kind of give you my thoughts about them. Just something about reviews, and especially reviews on YouTube and everything. I mean, these are people's opinions. These are my opinions. Opinions are, let's use a nice word and say opinions are like butts. Everybody's got a butt, right? Everybody's got an opinion. They are completely subjective, meaning, you know, people will talk about things, whether it's cars or whatever, and they give you their opinion based on their experience. That's, you know, somewhat to be expected. I try to be a little bit objective if I can be, in just telling you kind of, you know, not really saying, oh, well, this sucks, or, you know, this is super great or whatever. Just kind of like, here are the facts and here are the things that I've seen with a particular thing or another. But there are a lot of electronic hoppers out there. You know, they've definitely gone through in a whole sequence here, from some of the older designs to, you know, modern day kind of stuff. And it can be confusing to kind of look at them and try to figure out which one will be the best for you and your playing style, or, you know, kind of your gun, or, you know, your particular situation, maybe your environment. So pretty much all the time I'm playing here in Southern California, and since it doesn't rain here, I've got speed feeds on pretty much everything I have that I play with consistently, because I'm not worried about rain. But, you know, maybe if you're playing where, you know, you may experience rain a lot while you're playing, you know, you're not going to care about that. That's just an example, you know, of why, you know, these are things that I like that, you know, may not be an issue for you. But you may hear someone say, oh, you know, you got to have a speed feed or whatever. And it's like, well, you know, if you play in the rain a lot, like, maybe you don't want that. So, you know, you've got to kind of look at things look at these reviews in that kind of perspective, meaning, you know, how does it apply to you? So that's kind of like how my reviews kind of go, is, you know, I'm just going to try to give you the information that I've gathered that I hope will be useful in maybe you making a decision on something to get for yourself. You know, nobody in their right mind really should be owning all of these types of hoppers at one time. I'm a little nuts that way. I am always looking to try to improve stuff. I love technology anyway. You can see all the technology here, you know, in my office for one. And when I'm looking at, you know, the sport that I love, in this case, obviously paintball, I'm always looking to push that edge and find cool and new stuff, you know, especially when it's electronic, that I can use and try to find what's better. So, and, you know, I mean, these are expensive decisions. I mean, even some of these older hoppers still command, you know, 30, 40 bucks, you know, 25, 30 bucks or whatever. I think JT started making these again recently, the Revolution, the Viewloader style Revy hopper. So you can buy these new, which is kind of cool. But you know, if you've got newer guns, you know, you want some of these nicer, fancier style hoppers. So let's kind of go through these. This is called the Eggy. This is one of the older designs. These had an eye that told them to stop spinning when you had paint in them. Actually, I don't even remember. It's been a long time since I've used this one. But the disadvantage here was, and the spring is totally shot. This is my non-functioning version, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would turn it on and show it to you. But These were good for autocockers and mechanical guns where you could shoot pretty quick with as fast as you could pull the trigger. But, you know, not a double trigger usually, and not an electronic trigger. So they kind of stuck around for a while. As you can see, in comparison to the other hoppers, they are, you know, as big or taller or bigger than a lot of other hoppers. You know, they were kind of unique when they came out, but this isn't something I think you would pick up today. If you get a good deal on it and you want to throw it on an autococker or Tipman 98 or something, you'd be probably more than happy with it. The problem with it too that I don't like, that you'll hear me talk about for these other hoppers, is there's a bunch of screws you have to remove to take it apart and clean it, which I don't like. So that's the Eggy. The VL Force, this one actually does have batteries in it. This one I think just spins until it's empty, you know, or there's enough resistance to keep it from spinning. But anyway, these were pretty good hoppers, and actually when you compare them to some of these others, they're not, you know, too outrageously big, but the technology did surpass this a little bit. I mean, it's not that different in shape from the Revolution there, or in size from that, for that matter, and even some of the screws appear to be almost in exactly the same place. Anyway, so there's that hopper. It's got just like a spinning paddle in there. You know, these were again pretty popular at one point. The Revolution, again, I still use this for my autocockers. The paddle's black, but maybe you can see it. Basically, it has an eye, and when there's paint in the feed neck here for the hopper, it stops spinning. But as it sees it spin, I mean, this just has worked really well for me on the autocockers and mechanical guns. I would recommend this because you can still get them. You can still get shells for this. You can get shells and parts in different colors if you want. It's not bad. You know, it's not great either, but let's see, it takes two 9-volt batteries. So it has, I like when it has two 9-volt batteries. Actually, I think it gives it a little bit more torque, a little bit more amperage. So, you know, that one's pretty good. And if you look at it compared to, you know, the Z2, even the Spire, it's a little bit taller than a Spire. A little bit taller than the Z2, but not by much. Almost the same, if not, actually it's lower profile, or almost exactly the same profile as the, from the side, as the Pinocchio. Taller than the Rotor. Almost similar in size and height as the Halo 2. So, this is a good one. If you, I think, out of these, this would be the one I would grab for mechanical guns. I kind of like it. Not that you can't use an electronic hopper for those, but sometimes for some of those guns, especially these three, can push a little bit too hard and you can actually break paint. I've seen in some of my mechanical guns, unless you turn the force down on these types of hoppers. I just think in general you're better off going with this type of hopper for a mechanical gun. The next ones to talk about, I think, would be the Halo 2, which this works by sound. So when it hears you fire, it actually will turn. And but again, the problem with these is, look at all the screws you have to take out in order to take the shell off and clean it. So here's a perfect example, and the reason why I started doing this today. Look at the mess that's in here. Here I've broken paint. If this hasn't happened to you, it will happen probably at some point. That's a mess. And you can see, like, it's jammed and it won't even advance with that broken ball in there like that. So this is going to be a pain in the butt to clean. I'm going to have to remove all these screws, which I've started doing. Remove all the screws. and pull the shell apart, pull the batteries out. Clean the whole thing up, clean the whole thing up, and then put it all back together. And then it's happened to me before where I've had some bad paint or something. I've cleaned it. I mean, this takes you out, if not for a game, for 2 games or more. And because you have to take this apart with so many screws and so many parts, that you're going to lose if you try to take this apart at a field if you're not extremely careful. That this could take you out for the day if this is your only hopper. In fact, like, I usually play with 1 or more of these hoppers in my gear bag, and when one goes down, I don't even try to really clean it on the field. I just grab my next hopper and I keep going. But if you are going to play with a hopper, and I think I would rather play with one of these 4, except for maybe mechanical guns where I might use one of these, because these 4 at least come apart a little bit easier and a little bit easier to clean. So, these 3 are essentially toolless for the most part to clean the majority of what's going to get messed up inside. This one, essentially there's only 1 screw for most of the time you break stuff in this, because you can get the longer nose cone for the Pinocchio that sticks out like this, hence the reason why it's called the Pinocchio, and it holds 200 some odd rounds additional. But look, that the front nose comes off. You can take off the I don't have a screwdriver, but you can take the cap off here with the speed feed, and then actually with a nice long Phillips head screwdriver, you can get right down here on the prop and you can remove the prop. And so with basically removing this, which really doesn't take tools, and then this 1 screw, you can clean out this entire hopper very quickly and easily, even at the field, and you've only taken 2 parts really out of the gun, and with the exception of that 1 Phillips head screw, you're not really at risk of losing a whole lot. So I consider it relatively well field serviceable. Now, it may not be as fast. Let's just face it, it's probably not as fast as these other 3 hoppers, but it does the job. It'll keep up with most electric guns, and for walk-on play, semi-auto, I don't see you really outshooting this hopper at all. So, and it's also significantly cheaper than these other 4. So, in fact, I got this one used. Haven't had a problem. In fact, I got this one used and these 4 used, and they work great. So, you buy from someone that you can return, if something's not working. But other than that, really, it's not really an issue. I haven't had a problem buying used. In fact, I bought this one used too. Oh, actually, these 2 were used also when I got them, and they've worked great. So, now, if we step up to these nicer 4 hoppers, these are really top of the line, especially these 3. This one comes apart for the most part when you take this off, and look, it's dirty from where it got hit, one of the last times I played. But anyway, you can get in here a little bit more easily, but still you have to remove this tray sometimes if paint gets in here, and you have to be able to remove this to get into the freeway and little area in there where you can get paint, which is a little bit harder to get at than than these other 2 hoppers, namely the Spire and the Rotor. So these 2, I think, are the easiest to service and clean on the field, and pretty much really don't have any tools required. You unlock and remove the top shell of your rotor, push up on the front tray, and really this is most of what you'll have to clean. You can remove these parts. They come out really easily, and clean them individually, and then drop them back in, and keep playing pretty quickly. You might be out 1 game trying to clean this. And then it goes back together just that easily. Now there are, parts there. Oops. there are parts there that you want to keep track of and make sure you're putting back together properly. But for the most part, that's pretty easy. Also, the shell on this hopper is this is the glass-filled nylon, which is very, very strong. Same as the Spire. And actually, what's interesting is this is the original nose that came on this, which is pretty flexible, but is nowhere near as thick or as sturdy as these two hoppers, the shells on these two hoppers. But the back part, I got this the shell kit to change the color up on this hopper, and actually the back part and the nose cone that came in this white plastic is very strong. So if you are a Z2 Prophecy Z2 owner, and you know, you've had this shell crack on you or had problems, the newer shells, and especially this white shell, for me at least, it's incredibly stronger than the rest of it, than the other shells that I've for the Z2, or at least for the original black shell. The only other thing with the Z2 that I will say, I mean, you do get the rip drive manual, so you can advance and reverse a little bit, similar to the shark fin on the rotor, can kind of help you unjam a little bit. But the feed neck here, when I screw this onto the top of my gun, this feed neck is just, it's moving around a little bit more and feels like, now I've never had a problem, but it just feels like it's gonna break to me. Now it hasn't, and I haven't heard of it breaking, but there's just too much movement there for me to feel kind of real comfortable. Where these two hoppers and most of my other hoppers, I don't really feel that with. Now I haven't had this long enough, and I don't know if it's been out long enough for people to have seen, like maybe they've taken a dive and had that break off. My older Prophecy, you could get a metal collar that would go inside of it that seemed to give it a lot more strength. Now this is better than the feed neck that came on the first Prophecy, but it still just makes me a little nervous. Although this feeds pretty good, and as long as I've remembered to put everything back together and lined everything up properly, it feeds great and hasn't jammed. It does have an anti-jam, which is nice. It does have buttons to forward and advance the paint, you know, which is nice. And it does have the rip drive. You can get lots of different speed feeds, or move the speed feed up in the way and just pour paint straight in it. It does have the magnetic top, which kind of holds it down nice. The rotor feeds, I think, arguably the fastest between the three. Now, most people and most guns, you are not going to be able to outshoot the rotor. And actually these three, and even these 4 or 5 here, you're not going to really outshoot them with you know, most people and most guns for like walk-on type play. If you're doing tournament play and stuff, maybe that's something else you'll have to think about, but it seems like it's fast. I mean, it's definitely, you've seen, I mean, there's a million drop tests and other people, which, you know, you could say whether the drop tests are really a true test or not, but it's fast. It's definitely fast. Now, the only issue I have personally with the rotor is that if you look here and how it handles paint, first of all, it looks like a blender. It's amazing it doesn't chop paint in here. My experience has been with good quality paint that's perfectly round, or not perfectly round, but you know, of the better quality, that's not swollen, hasn't been sitting in the trunk of your car all day, hasn't been exposed to moisture or anything. So, you know, if the paint doesn't swell, if it stays, you know, nice, and usually smaller tournament style paint, it feeds great. Now, I have to play at a field sometimes that requires field paint. And the field paint there is just not always perfectly round. I mean, sometimes they look like little footballs, no kidding. The shell's just not as great, or it's inconsistent at the very least. And this has jammed on me repeatedly with paint like that. Now, you're playing tournaments where you can pick your own paint, or fields where you can bring your own paint. You probably won't run into that if you pick your paint accordingly for this hopper, and you size your paint according, for the barrels you're using and the gun that you're using. But as far as getting the paint into the gun, I would be careful what paint you use and be selective. And when I go to that particular field, I definitely don't use this hopper for that, knowing that I'm going to encounter that kind of paint. All the rest of the time, it seems fine. Now, it does have this shark fin, which does pretty much help you. It helps you on jam stuff. See, it just moves that kind of fin there back and forth, which can help you on jam, but it's not, I think, a true anti-jam, meaning it won't clear a ball that's stuck. If you get to that point with this, or with most other hoppers, except for these two, you're out of luck. So now the Spire, which is probably the hopper I use the most when I play with hopper-fed guns, this is all you have to do to take it apart. Essentially, everything that hits paint is right here. You'll get paint in this tray. You might get paint in the shell. You may get paint around here, but you can actually get in here and clean most of this and access everything where you're going to have paint. And you're not removing little parts and things, and there's nothing to lose. And to put it back together, you just drop it in, and you're done. So at worst, again, you're out one game. You're not out the whole day. If you break paint in here, and I have broken paint in here, usually from someone hitting the hopper from the side and it breaking a ball, especially when I'm playing with tournament grade paint, in the hopper. And then just looking down and going, oh crap, where did all that paint come from? And then I've got a mess that kind of looks like this inside of here, and there's paint everywhere. What's interesting is with this, where this is feeding or not feeding, this will continue to feed. Now, your paint's going to fly all over the place, and you're not going to hit anything, but you can still be a threat in the game, or you can still get paint out of your gun. It's just not going to fly straight at all. But this right now it's my favorite hopper. I just keep grabbing it every time I go to play, and I've got all these to choose from. This is the one I keep grabbing. If you look at it comparatively, it's very similar in shape, or similar in size to the Rotor. It is definitely smaller than the Pinocchio profile-wise, and smaller than the Halo 2, the Invert 2 or the Halo 2. So is the Rotor. And they are both slightly smaller, or actually very, very close to the Z2. But I think this, you'll see a lot of people talk about, and especially Virtue talk about, how at least the Spire will hold 200 rounds, where these other hoppers may not get you close to that. So there is a newer Spire coming out that's going to hold supposedly 240 or 260, which is kind of nice too, and still be relatively the same size. I think it'll still be the same size or smaller than these other hoppers, and hold more. So that's kind of interesting. Can't wait to see that. But anyway, if you look at some of my other videos, I did have an issue with the tray that came in the other Spire that I bought, but I worked with Virtue for a while, created some videos and a thread on PB Nation, and Virtue actually replaced my tray for me ultimately, and that was the fix for my other Spire. So again, I think with all those factors considered, probably these three are my favorite go-to hoppers for pretty much all the different scenarios I run into where I need an electronic hopper. So I'll probably end up selling the rest of them because I either can't stand cleaning them, or they just don't do the job for me. What else can I tell you? Some of these are these run on AAA or AA batteries. This runs on AA batteries factory, but you can get a 9-volt upgrade kit for it. These use 2 9-volts. This is shoot, what is this? I don't even remember. I think this has a conversion kit also, but I don't remember what I am currently running in here. Not that one really matters so much over the others. I haven't seen like significant improvement, but when I got back into paintball, I couldn't really see myself. Okay, these are 4 AA batteries, so I couldn't really justify to myself, man, you know, $200 in the case of a lot of these. That's more than I'm paying sometimes for the gun that I have. So why would you spend that? But these you will definitely have and use on multiple guns. These 4, I would say, and this one too for mechanical type guns. So they were worth it to me. You buy one, you decide you don't like it, turn around and sell it right away while it's still clean, still functions really well, while you still have the boxes and manuals and everything. And then go buy the other one if you really want. If you can try somebody else's out for the day, it's kind of great. I loaned mine to some of my friends. One of my friends loves Z2s, so I used his Z2, said, hey, you know, it's not so bad. But still, this is the Spires are what I really like to run on my electric guns, at least. So that's kind of the Super Hopper show, showing you everything out there. I hope it's helpful for you, maybe helps you make a decision. I think that, you know, this one's versatile. There's no other hopper that can hold more, really, by putting the Pinocchio nose on it. You know, for the most part, that's simple and easy to use and just kind of off the shelf, and you don't have to do any modifications or anything. Kind of great hopper. I mean, it is bigger, taller, but actually if you look at it from behind and from the front, it's not really that much of a difference. It may be higher, but it's not really wider. It's also simple 1-button operation, which is great. No adjustments really. I hope that gives you a pretty good idea of what you're looking at. I mean, it's a little bigger, but not really that bad. People, I think, see it from the side on guns, and definitely from the side it's got more of a profile, especially when you can see through it like this. The smoke one makes it kind of nice. You can see how much taller it is than the Spire or, you know, the Rotor. So, and in paintball, you know, it's a game of inches, some people definitely say. So you've got a bigger target from the side. If people, you know, pick you up from the side, they may hit you. But this is good, thick plastic. It's not the glass-filled nylon like some of these other shells, but it's not bad. You know, it hasn't broken, and it's definitely been hit a couple times for me. So I like it. It's simple. So I think in the end, I'll probably keep my 2 Spires, the Pinocchio, and the Revy, and get rid of some of the rest of these, especially now that I've done this show, because I've kept some of these because I wanted to show you guys kind of what the differences are, and so I could see it kind of myself, side by side and everything. And I've definitely played with these. You can see my videos, you know, and I've had a lot of experience with most of these. And that's just kind of my opinion. So get out there, try it yourself, take those things into consideration, think about, you know, kind of what you want to do and what things are important to you. Battery life is something, you know, a lot of people ask about. These hoppers are very active, and you are going to go through some more batteries with these. It's not horrible, but it is probably the most battery consuming hopper out there. I don't mind, after spending what I spent on a hopper to get that level of performance and to never have a jam, I don't mind spending a few extra bucks, you know, on batteries. So, but if that's a consideration for you, the Rotor's good, but take into account that, you know, sizes of paint, and paint that's maybe not the highest quality or the freshest may give you jamming problems. The Z2 kind of is does a little bit of both of what these do. I mean, it's got the anti-jam, a similar anti-jam type of function. I mean, they actually, I mean, they do it in two totally different ways. But this is not as easy to clean, but is better on batteries. So you have to kind of weigh the pluses and minuses of all those things yourself and find out what's best for you. If you just want to get in, have a setup where you have one hopper, one gun, one tank, and everything, and you don't want to buy a lot of stuff except paint after that, then go with one of these other hoppers. But if you value performance over everything else, then I would say look at the Spire. It's certainly fast. Maybe a hair slower than the Rotor. That's really hard to kind of quantify, but I've not outshot it with my electric guns and with guns firing full auto. Just haven't had that issue. So I haven't really outrun this thing either. Although this one probably tops out, several balls per second, I'm sure, slower than these guys. But it hasn't been an issue for me. And for rec ball play, it's great. And I'll tell you, throwing that 200 round nose cone on the front of this thing to make it is just intimidating, especially since it's clear and people can see the paint sitting in it. They go, oh my God, what is that? Look at that guy. And I just love that intimidation factor, if nothing else. So that's kind of fun. So weigh all those kinds of things. Think about it. Like I said, go and buy one of these. Buy one of them used. If you don't like it, turn around and sell it. You usually get about what you pay for it. You might lose a few bucks in shipping, but chalk that up to the cost of, finding out what's best for you. I mean, I don't think there's any other way I could have come down to deciding that, these were maybe the hoppers that I couldn't live without and that I want to use all the time. Until I've actually put them all through my paces. So you may have to do that too. So I hope this was beneficial for you. I'll try to do some other shows, hopper related shows, when I think I can do some other comparisons, but I definitely wanted you to see them side by side next to each other and whatnot, like I've shown you. So I hope that really helps you and the rest of the paintball community. Thank you.